everyone. This is Chala Dincoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert. We are here with another edition of the Naked Marketing Podcast. And my guest today is Scott Anderson. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Chala, so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, thanks for willing to get naked and honest about your marketing mistakes. But before you do that, let's find out what you do and who you help.
Absolutely. I am a serial entrepreneur and a licensed mental health therapist and an executive coach. And I help entrepreneurs who are burned out to break through burnout and live their best lives ever, both at home and at work.
Wow, I bet you there's a lot more since the pandemic.
Yeah, there is a lot. Although what we found is that the pandemic is really, the straw that broke the camel's back. There's a lot of burnout preceding the pandemic, and that's really what has broken the camel's back for a lot of people.
Right. And I've always found as a marketer that it's so hard to niche in a mindset like what people have in their minds, because they don't self-gather by the fact that they're burnt out. So how do you even identify your prospects? Because you don't see that, it doesn't say I'm burnt out, and they don't go to burnout conferences. So
No.
How do you even do that?
That's a great question. In fact, I was talking with my agency this morning about that very thing. Part of it is that entrepreneurship is one of those things I've discovered in having launched and run 9 businesses now.
Wow.
that burnout is just a part of it. It's just it's part of being an entrepreneur.
Right.
And so the chances of, in any pool of entrepreneurs, of some of them being burnt out, the chances are extremely high. Right now, the Gallup poll people say that 45% of the American workforce says that they feel burned out most of the time. So, I mean, speaking of pandemics, burnout is certainly one. But what I find, is by targeting entrepreneurs generally, and especially those that are in the relatively early days of building their businesses, are prone to burnout. And so there's a pretty big pond of people, sadly, but there are people I can help.
And do you help them through like training or regular coaching? Or I know you said you are a mental health professional. So is there some therapy in there? What's your sort of methodology?
It's sort of yes to all of the above.
Yeah.
It's a process that I discovered kind of because I had to in breaking through my own burnout.
Really?
And it's a combination of training based on clinically proven techniques. It's coaching, individual coaching. It's also group mastermind setting, because isolation is one of the hallmarks of burnout. So to be in community, especially in community with other entrepreneurs that are burned out, helps defeat the feeling of isolation and lonely at the topness. So we actually combine all of that, both individual coaching, mastermind, group coaching, and online training.
Wow. And, in your experience, what seems to be the biggest trigger for burnout?
Well, entrepreneurs, sort of by definition, are they tend to have as a superpower this sort of inexhaustible and insatiable hunger to achieve, or they wouldn't be entrepreneurs and they wouldn't take the risks that they take.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, often that superpower to overachieve and to overperform is fueled by a thought that may not be very positive. So, for example, a lot of the people that I work with have a thought somewhere in their system that they're not smart enough, or they're not knowledgeable enough, or they're not credentialed enough. I have a lot of clients who get degrees upon degrees in this endless and insatiable hunger for that kind of confidence. So that can really fuel high achievement, and perfectionism is also part of the puzzle, but it also fuels ultimately burnout, so that the superpower becomes kind of the kryptonite to a lot of the folks that I work with.
Right. Well, it's great that you're a serial entrepreneur, because I've done some work with, I've presented to therapists, and I'm also an ICF certified coach. So I've also worked with a lot of coaches, and by industries, they're very averse to, similar to doctors, they're kind of averse to marketing. So
Yes,
tell me how you market. How do you get your clients?
yeah, that's interesting. So one of the businesses, and the biggest business probably that I owned, was an advertising agency,
Wow,
actually, that I ran for 25 years. And
nice.
if that doesn't burn you out, nothing will. Um, and so, it's funny. You would think, with that kind of background, the marketing piece should come very easily.
Uh-huh.
But as you know, in working with your clients, when it's you, I can help you solve your marketing
Yeah.
problems. But when it's me, I suddenly become suddenly stupid and confused about how to solve my own issues. So anyway, I've had to engage coaches and consultants and advertising agencies to help me,
Mhm.
because I can't see myself clearly. And
Yeah.
this is one of the things I'm sure you do with your clients, Chala, is to help them see themselves and
Yeah.
see what they're best at, and to be objective, and to find the ROI in particular. Unfortunately, and we can talk. I'm happy to talk about some of my most naked mistakes in marketing,
Yeah,
but
we're gonna. So tell
but
us about what some of the current funnels you're using are to get your clients.
I'm mainly using a combination of Facebook and YouTube advertising.
Nice.
Also, I use Google AdWords and AdRoll,
Wow.
and they've both been very effective for me. The addition of YouTube on top of Facebook has really helped.
Nice.
As you know, the targeting is much better than Facebook. The reporting is much worse than Facebook. So it's sort of a trade-off. But I found that the combination is very good, especially when I'm trying to engage people with video content.
Mm,
YouTube obviously is the place to be for that, but
very.
Facebook as well. So yeah, they've both been very, very helpful. I've also done off and on. I've done LinkedIn marketing, and there's pluses and minuses to LinkedIn as well.
When you say LinkedIn marketing, is it advertising or is it outreach?
Outreach mainly,
Mm,
outreach campaigns, and uh, I've had varying degrees of success with that. I mean, I think that LinkedIn should be a great spot for me, in as much as I'm looking for entrepreneurs, but I really don't feel like I've used it very well to date.
yeah, I mean, it depends on the level of entrepreneur. So what's the sort of size of business is your sweet spot?
Yeah, typically I'm working with people that have, and it depends on the industry, but they have sales of at least $1 million,
Yeah,
and
okay.
they're typically in the million to 50 million
Yeah,
range. We
yeah,
have a number of clients that do significantly more than that, but
yeah.
um, I find that $1 million in revenue is a pretty good, depending on the industry, is a pretty good point of departure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I totally feel so comfortable with you because for 18 years I was a brand manager for Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito-Lay, and
Oh, wow.
I worked with you guys, right? Like that,
Yes.
you were my world. So I love your language that you're talking. I totally feel like on the same page. So tell us about the naked marketing part.
I and it's so you'll relate to this from your PepsiCo experience, which is fabulous brand experience. With all of my clients as an advertising agency, I was just emphatic about picking a specific point on the compass to be known for. Something, the unique selling proposition used to be the term, but basically to pick something that you're known for,
Mhm,
to be known for something versus unknown for everything. And
mhm,
yet I found it wasn't until I started my own companies that I began to understand the pain that my advertising agency clients had about committing to a discrete
mhm.
position or discrete solution. So my biggest mistakes have been not committing to, and this goes to what you do for your clients, but
Mhm.
to not committing to a specific, to serve a specific audience in a specific way, and to have very blurry or no niche at all.
I love it.
And you can squander a lot of money and waste a lot of time that way. I really think of the mistakes that I've made over time is not taking my own medicine that I've been advocating to advertise to clients forever, and to be sort of throwing money at without a specific audience in mind, a specific pain point in mind, and a specific ROI promise.
Yeah, I find it fascinating with like because the same thing happened to me because I had to hire, I'm a repositioning expert, that's the name of my company, and I had to hire someone to do it for me.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
how sad it is, right? And that's what I do for
Yes.
a living. That's all I do. But what caused that fear in you to commit to a specific niche, do you think?
Great question. I think it's this, and I think it's just human nature, maybe the way our minds work. But the idea is, I'm somehow going to be safer or more successful if I throw out a giant net to catch anything that might come in, and versus a smaller net of a certain diameter in a specific part of the ocean. And as a marketer, I knew from lots and lots of experience that the latter technique would work much better than the former.
Yeah.
But when it comes right down to it and it's your dollars, I understand why advertisers are wanting to not commit. But that is definitely the road to hell is paved by not taking dead aim at exactly the audience, exactly the pain point, and exactly the ROI.
Yeah, well, I love that. It's what I think the kids are calling FOMO these days, fear of missing out,
Yes.
because you think like, oh, I'm going to miss out on that segment if I hit this one. But I've also found, and you tell me if you found the same thing, it's also they don't know how to pick one. Like, and that's what I do for a living is like after launching 7 to 10 new products every year, I learned where to find the gap in the market to position. It's the same damn thing on the same shelf. Well, how are we going to keep it from
Exactly.
cannibalizing? How are we going to differentiate you? And that's what I've shrunk it down to a 2 to 4 week process that I now apply to us companies like
Yes.
that. So
Yeah. It's
is that
very
what you
wise
find?
and very valuable, but you're exactly right. I mean, the fear is that if I put all of my chips on red, so to speak, that the risk is too high. And, there are a million other positions I could occupy as a marketer. And wouldn't it be safer to put my bets against, a half a dozen different positions or no position at all? And of course, it turns out that the biggest risk is not taking one, but it's hard to believe that until you actually do it. It just feels, I think our minds are designed to de-risk. And the other thing I found, in early days, it was about, I had this naive idea that I wanted to serve people in a certain way, that it was about me instead about my audience. And I think that's where we can go wrong too, is kind of smoking our own dope and thinking that somehow our solution is just going to strike a chord the way it's stricken a chord for us, and making it about us versus making it about the audience. A friend of mine, or one of my mentors, uses the expression a bleeding neck problem. You've probably heard the expression, but that's really the key. What is the bleeding neck problem that people want solved right this instant, right
Oh,
this
I love
moment?
that expression. It's disgusting, but I've never heard it.
Right. But
We only use pain, but that's like
yeah,
one step closer to death.
exactly. And if and this is the naked mistake that I've made time after time, is kind of rationalizing that there would be a bleeding neck problem somewhere in this mess, versus taking dead aim at a bleeding neck problem. But I think we have to waste money and learn our lessons, lick our wounds, and then finally realize we have to take dead aim on a specific audience, a specific bleeding neck problem, and specifically the tourniquet that we can apply to it.
I love the imagery. Oh my God. Wow. I totally wrote down the biggest risk is not taking one. I don't know if you made that up, but I love that quote. That's a
I'll
fabulous,
take it. I'll take it.
that's a quote and a half. Awesome. Well, what is the, parting advice that you want to give about marketing, Scott?
Uh, my business partner in my advertising agency always told me, make it about them.
Yeah.
And there is this just human nature to make it about us, about how wonderful we are, and so on. So yeah, really, we have to make it about them. All of the marketing, every single bit of it. And there is, for entrepreneurs in particular, there's a certain pride of authorship, and it's about self-expression, and all of that. And after you've lost enough money doing that, you learn not to do that anymore.
Nobody
But
cares about you. Yeah.
no one cares. Maybe that's it in a nutshell. No one cares.
I know. They only care about one thing, themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Them and their
Yeah.
neck, right? I love
And
it.
their neck.
And their neck.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how could our viewers reach you, Scott?
The best way is to go to burnoutbreakthrough.com, and there's a masterclass on the 5 shifts that entrepreneurs use to break through burnout permanently and live their best lives ever at home and at work. Breakthroughburnout.com, and that's the best place to get information.
Thank you for being an amazing guest.
Oh, my pleasure, Chala. It's very nice to meet you. I appreciate the opportunity.